Hey guys, I'm Boris. Today I'm going to start the demo series to show you how to build a simple Spring Boot RESTful API. I will break the videos into several small videos. In the first video, I will demonstrate how to code a Spring Boot application and then build a project with AWS CodeBuild. In the subsequent videos, I will show you how to do a blue-green deployment by AWS CodeDeploy. Well, in the last video, I will talk about the whole CI/CD pipeline. I will use it to automate all the build and deployment tasks. So it will be quite a long demo series. I hope you will like it. So this is the first video. I will follow these steps. For the first steps, I will do some coding to develop the Spring Boot API, and after that I will push the source code to GitHub, and the AWS CodeBuild will pull the source code from GitHub and then build the project. I will show you the BuildSpec file. This BuildSpec file is used by the AWS CodeBuild to build the artifacts and also build the Docker image. And finally, I will push the Docker image to ECS, which is the container registry in AWS. So this is my introduction. Let's get our hands dirty and start some coding. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to go to the start.spring.io website. Well, this website will help you to build a startup Spring Boot application. I just give the name Boris and then the artifacts. I'll give the name math because I just want to build a simple RESTful service to do some math operation. Okay, and then add the dependency. We need to add the Spring Wrap. Okay, and then I click the generate button. It will generate a zip file. Okay, I download it. Okay, I copy it out. And unzip it. Okay, this is an empty project, empty Spring project, and I will use the IntelliJ IDE to open it and start development. Okay, this is the math folder, and I open it. I just trust the project. Okay, for the first time you open the project, it will take a little bit long time because you start to download the dependency library for the Maven repository. So I will pause the video here. Okay, it finished download the dependency library and also the first build. So we can start some coding. Let's first create a controller. The REST controller. I'll just give the name controller and then annotate it with REST controller. Let the IDE to do the import. Okay, and I will add the math service to do the math logic. And annotate it with service. And I will add the method do some addition. Accept two parameters. I just do a addition for two integer to make it simple. And I will make another class which store the result of the addition. And the RESTful service will display the result. And I will add some properties. And first of all, the result of the math result. I give the name the math result. This is an integer. And then I add another properties, which is string, which shows some message of to be displayed in the API. I just give them the message. Okay, let's generate the getter and sector. And I will also generate the constructor. Okay, then I go back to build the map service, and it will return the result object. Let's correct the typo. And I will just new the result object. It will I just add the two number and then give the message. Just finish addition. Just arbitrary message. Okay, and then return the result. Okay, and then we're back to the controller. And then we need to build a method, put the entry point of the RESTful service. Just to get addition result, just give the name. And I'll annotate it with the post mapping. And this method should accept, for the post mapping I need to give the path. And this method I need to accept two request parameter. Okay, and then for this controller I need to inject the map service, and I have a private map service method properties. And I will annotate if with the auto while. Okay, and then I will call the map service addition method. Will return the addition result. Okay. And then return the result. Okay. Oh, wrong typo. Okay, that is the simple RESTful API. Let me save the project. Also, I need to give the name of the parameter. Name, I just give the number 1 and number 2. Okay, let me test this REST API. Okay, I'll open the Gradle window and then try the boot run. Okay, I should open the Postman to test it. Okay, I have started the Postman. I'll use it to test the RESTful service. We can see that our RESTful service is started at port 8080. So I just type this URL and then I input 2 parameters. Just test it. 2 plus 5. So you see that the calculation is finished successfully, finish addition, and the result is 7. It looks everything is fine. Okay, after I have finished developed the Spring Boot RESTful service, I will push the source code to GitHub. I have already created a repository for this RESTful service, so I will follow the command to push the source code. Just git init, and then I will add the files. Then I commit it. Oh, I just copy the command. Okay, finally I push it to the main branch. Okay. The source code had been pushed to the GitHub. And we can see that yes, the source code has been committed and pushed. So in the next step, I will go to the AWS console, and then I will do the build using the AWS CodeBuild. Now I will try to use this diagram to show you what will be done next. I will first create a repository in the ECR, that is the container registry in AWS. Then I will create a project in AWS CodeBuild. This CodeBuild project will pull the source code from GitHub and then build the Java files. It will also build the Docker image. And finally, the project will push the Docker image to ECR. And all this build instruction will be specified in the BuildSpec.yml file. Okay, let's go on the demo, and I will show you the detail of the BuildSpec.yml file. Okay, I have created a BuildSpec.yml file and also the Docker file before, and I just copy it to the root directory of the project. And now I will show the content here. For a Docker file, it's quite simple. Just get the Java runtime and then specify the entry point. For the BuildSpec.yml file, we can see that it describes the build process in different phases. In the pre-build phase, we try to log in the Amazon ECR, and then we should specify the repository URI here. For the installation phase, we should install the Java runtime. And then in the build phase, we can see that you call the Gradle command to build the Java file, and also to build the Docker image. And in the post-build phase, we will call the Docker push command to push the Docker image to the ECR. And finally, we also specify the report section, because we want to show you later in the console, in the CodeBuild console, we can see the JUnit test result here. Okay, let's go to the next part, and I will try to create the repository and also the CodeBuild application in the AWS console. Well, before I go to the AWS console to create the ECRs and the CodeBuild, I forget to add the Docker file and the BuildSpec file to the GitHub. So I just type command to add it now. And I also need to add the execution permissions for the Gradle files and Docker files. Update index and change mode. Then I commit it. Okay, type it wrongly. Okay, and then push it. Okay, now I'll go to the AWS console to create a repository in the ECR. This is the AWS Management Console, and I type ECR here. The Elastic Container Registry. Okay, I click Get Started. It will try to create a repository. I create a private repository, and then I give the name map service. Okay, for other thing, I just accept the default and create a repository. Okay, we can see the URI here. That is the URI I specified in the BuildSpec.yml file. Okay, let's go to AWS CodeBuild. I type CodeBuild here, and then click on the link. Then I click Create Build Project. And I give the name Build Map Service. For the description, I just type Build a Map Service. In the source section, I select GitHub and choose repository in my GitHub account. Well, if it is the first time you create and you connect GitHub, it will ask you to input the personal access token from GitHub. You may find instructions to create a personal access token in the GitHub website, so I will not go through the details here, and I just select my source repository. For the environment, I choose Amazon Linux 2, and then runtime, I select standard. The image, I select standard 3.0. And remember that we should click the privilege checkbox because we need to build the Docker image. For the service role, it will create a new service role for me. In the build spec section, we chose to use a build spec file. In the artifact sections, we just leave no artifacts here. Okay, finally we can click the Create Build Project button here. It will start create an AWS CodeBuild project. Okay, we can see that the AWS CodeBuild project has been created. We can click the Start Build button to see what happened. It will start the build process. We can see that the status is in progress. And we can click on the Build Details tab. Okay, we can see that the pre-build phase was failed. It's because the service role does not have permissions to connect and to log in the ECR. So we should go to the IAM role to add the required privilege. We go to the IAM dashboard and click Roles. And then we find the build service role. And we click on the Attach Process button. We should add the container registry related privilege to the service role. I just give the full access to the role and then attach policy. Okay, let's go back to CodeBuild and we try build here. It will start the build process again. We can click on the build phase detail tabs here. Okay, the build was successfully completed this time. We can go to the build logs to see the details. You can see that the CodeBuild tried to pull the source code from GitHub, and then it built the Java files, run the Gradle task, and finally it built the Docker image and push it to ECR. We can go to the reports. It will show us the unit test result. We can see that all the unit test case has been passed. Okay, that is, I have completed this simple demo for the CodeBuild. Well, in the next video, I will talk about the ECS, the Elastic Container Service. I will deploy this RESTful service to the ECS. I hope to see you guys. Bye bye.